Okay, people, let's talk about the three states of data: data at rest, data in motion, and data in use. Data at rest is any information that is stored somewhere and is not currently moving. For example, this could be files saved on your computer's hard drive or photos you have backed up to your Google Drive or Dropbox. So this data isn't being used, so it's just safely stored somewhere to be retrieved when you need it. Data in motion is a bit more active. This is data that is traveling from one place to another. For instance, when you're sending someone a mail, or you want to send or you want to upload a file to a website. So this data is moving across the internet or through the network, and it's being actively transmitted. So we also need to make sure that this data or information is protected while on the move. Finally, we have data in use. So this is data that is actively being worked on at any given moment. For example, when you're editing a document on your computer, or you're using a app that processes some form of information. So the data in that document or that app is being accessed, modified, or processed. So that is data in use, data that you are currently working on. So we're going to look at ways to protect these three forms of data. For data at rest, we want to encrypt data at rest. So using strong encryption algorithms. If you remember when we talked about encryption, we said encryption is a process where data, readable data, is being converted to something unreadable. So even if someone gain access to where you store your data, they cannot read the data without the decryption key, if you remember what we said about encryption. Another thing we can also do to data at rest is to use self-encrypting devices. So what these self-encrypting drives do is that they automatically encrypt everything stored on them without you having to do anything extra. So whenever you save a file, it is locked right away, and when you want to access it, the drive unlocks it for you without any access. So that is another interesting thing to note. And also another thing we want to do is that we want to implement key management best practices. Many of you will agree with me that if I lock my door and leave the key at the entrance, it's as good as not locking it. If you don't store your encryption keys well, if it is in a place where attackers can easily get hold on it, it's as good as you've not encrypted anything. So we want to manage our encryption keys carefully. We want to store and protect them to ensure that only authorized people can use them to decrypt our data. Also, we want to regularly monitor and audit data access. So we want to keep track of who is accessing the data. We want to implement and monitor and dictate any unauthorized access to our sensitive information. For data in motion, encryption is also useful. So we want to use encryption protocols like SSL, TLS to ensure that data is secure during transmission. For example, when you log into your bank account online, your username and password are encrypted as they travel from your browser to the bank server, preventing anyone from capturing this information. So what enables them to be able to do that is this encryption protocol. Another thing we can do is to implement secure protocols. So we can use secure communication protocols like HTTPS. I know that many of us may have seen some websites where they write not secure. They are not using a secure communication protocol, and an example is HTTP. So when you see HTTPS, the S there means secure. Also, we want to monitor network traffic. We also want to constantly monitor network traffic for any unusual activities. For example, if large amounts of data is being transferred from a network to an unknown IP address, it could be somebody it could be somebody stealing our data. So, but when we monitor our network, we see how data is going back and forth, we can quickly be alerted and we can investigate whatever it is that is going on. For data in use, we can implement a clean desk policy. Of course, you cannot encrypt data in use. For example, if I'm working on, maybe I'm editing a document on my laptop. If it is encrypted, I can't read it, I can't work on it. So for data in use, we will not be able to use encryption, but we can implement clean desk policy. And what that means is that we ensure that sensitive information is not left unattended. So for example, if an employee is working on a confidential project, we need to ensure that no document or notes are left on the desk at the end of the day. So we will make sure that after each day, those notes, those documents are cleared and kept safely. Also, secure printing is also another way for data in use. Sensitive documents should only be printed on secure printers that require user authentication before printing. And also, after printing, then whatever is left should also be retrieved. So imagine printing a report containing confidential business strategies and someone just leaves it in the printer. Anyone passing can pick it up. And you remember we talked about insider threats. Also, we can also use privacy screens. For me, I use privacy screen. Some people are very nosy. You're working on your phone, they're stretching their neck, they want to see what you're doing. That to me kind of feel like an invasion of my privacy. So sometimes I buy privacy screen. Private screen can monitor and prevent shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing is when someone is looking over your shoulder to see what you're doing. Sometimes when I go out to buy something and I want to press my password, if you see the way I used to hide, you would think it's more than that. And it's true, I have to, because someone could just be peeping without my knowledge. So with privacy screen, it can blur what you're doing, it can prevent it such that nobody will see it even if they are peeping. Also, we can also implement workstation auto locking after a period of inactivity. For example, if an employee steps away from their desk without locking their computer, the auto lock feature will activate after a few minutes to prevent unauthorized access to their workstation. And imagine if they have confidential information there. So that is also definitely something to note. And we have come to the end of this. Remember, we have 3 states of data: data at rest, data in motion, and data in use. For data at rest, we want to encrypt data at rest. For data in motion, encryption is also another way to do it. And we want to ensure end-to-end encryption. I don't know if you've noticed when you're making WhatsApp calls, you see end-to-end encryption. What that means is, as your voice, as what you're saying with your friend is going over the network, is being encrypted. And for data in use, clean decks policies. Now let's talk about the opposite of the CIA Triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So in today's video, we'll be focusing on their opposites, and they are commonly referred to as disclosure, alteration, and destruction, also called DAD. So you see that cybersecurity is actually very simple and easy to understand. So we have CIA, we have DAD. Okay, so disclosure refers to unauthorized release of sensitive information which directly impacts confidentiality, while alteration involves unauthorized changes to data and it undermines integrity. Lastly, we have destruction, which is the loss or unavailability of data due to deliberate or accidental damage. Disclosure is the unauthorized access or exposure of sensitive data. So this can be as a result of a data breach where records of customers are leaked on the dark web. This could lead to severe consequences like financial loss, reputational damage. Imagine if you wake up tomorrow and you see your bank password on the internet. How would you rate that bank? You rate them as your information is not safe with them. So this can lead to serious consequences like financial loss, reputational damage, and even legal issues for the organization. Serious legal issues for the organization. So protecting confidentiality is very, very important. Opposite of integrity, alteration, is when data is altered or tampered with. I read a story on LinkedIn recently where a student had been changing his marks in the school's database for years, undetected, for 3 years. I mean, that's crazy. All of these have serious implications. The opposite of availability is destruction, and this can be intentional, like a cyber attack. It could be a natural disaster, that takes down a data center. It could be a distributed denial of service attacks. We talked about all these things. Anything that imparts availability can result in downtime. The server is down, you're not able to access it, customers are never able to access it, and it could lead to loss of revenue and can severely damage a company's reputation. So ensuring availability is very, very important. And that is it for the opposite of the CIA Triad. One of the things to look out for when it comes to questions on integrity is tamper, alter, change. Those are keywords. And also digital signatures. When you see questions on digital signatures, it is to ensure authenticity and integrity of data. That is the purpose of digital signatures. Also, we want to ensure confidentiality, and a way to do that is encryption. We discussed that. Another important thing that you need to understand is non-repudiation. And this is a way to prevent a sender from denying that they send a message or deny that they performed a particular action. For example, one time when I worked in a pharmacy, we interacted with this electronic medical record app that records everything you do. So if anything gets missing or anything goes wrong, all we had to do is go to the back end and see who interacted with what at a particular time. And from there, we will be able to pinpoint, it was the meetup that did this. This was exactly what she did, and she did it at this particular time. So even if you want to deny it, you can't, because it's showing your name, except you want to claim that somebody else signed in with your account. which is also not a good practice. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching and see you in my next video. Bye.